occurs to me that over 4 or 5 decades, women were not particularly welcome in medical or legal professions. But that changed. And I'm wondering if there's anything to be learned from that experience that could be applied to this particular topic.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It has changed. The odd thing about this dynamic in particular is that it was actually better 25 years ago than it is now. The percentage of women in the computer science classes in 1985 was 35%. Today it's 70%. So there's been a lot of study about what happened and when did it happen. There's no one answer, but some of the variables are there's the sort of boom and the bust of the internet bubble, and where everybody left the field, not everybody, but large numbers of people left the field, and then only the men returned. So that was one thing. The other thing that's been studied is the impact of the personal computer. Because what happened when computers started to move into the home is that it was the boys who got them. And so there began to be this association that computers are for boys at a young age, and then you get the gamers, and you get the hacking in the basement, and you get this whole culture. Now, there's a lot said now about the role models. So who do you think of when you think of the tech leaders? Who do you think of? Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, so on and so forth. You don't think of very many women, although in the very, very, very early days, it was the women actually who were the first programmers. Lovelace and so on. So I think that's a variable now, but it doesn't explain why did things turn around 10 or 20 years ago.
How are you finding the girls that the graduate, high school graduates, how are you recruiting them to come to the summer program?
Yeah, so this is our first pilot of this one, and we basically put out the application to all of the high schools. I don't want to say every high school, but we use Diane Levitt's connection to lots and lots of schools. The city university itself has connections to most of the New York City public schools, so they pushed out the application. And for this first pilot, it was just a first come, first served. All they had to do was fill out a little application, prove that they were actually going to go to CUNY in the fall, and write a little paragraph about why they were interested in it. But the scaling function, this is sort of the pilot iterate scale, is to work with the Entrepreneurship Center at CUNY, because the real vision is that next summer, each of the individual CUNY colleges will offer a similar workshop to their incoming freshman girls. So 40 is not the goal. 400 or 4,000 is the goal. But following the sort of Cornell Tech sort of, iterate, pilot, revise, this is our first shot at it. We have a waiting list of 40 girls.
That's exciting, a waiting list of 40
Yeah.
girls.
We may run a second pilot in January based on what we learned this summer.
Great.
And get ready to hand it off to
So my question is about the summer studio, the 2-week program that you guys put together. And as you said, starting early and younger, of course, is the goal, not just capturing them outside of 12 on their way to CUNY to college. So 2 questions, 2-part. How and who helped you develop this summer 2-weeker? Where, I saw a lot of partners up there, funding partners. And then would it, if successful and tweaked as you learn, ever apply to middle schools or grammar or grade school?
Fantastic question. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the idea for it actually came from Diane Levitt, who runs the K-12 program, and a woman named Jay McLaughlin, who runs the studio program at Cornell Tech. We were trying to figure out something to do in this glide path concept, and they said, well, why don't we take, so the program itself is the Cornell Tech curriculum. It's actually being taught by one of the instructors who teaches the graduate students, and one of the actual graduates of Cornell Tech. Those are the 2 instructors. So we didn't have to recreate the program. We just modified it so that the high school kids could do it and it could fit in 2 weeks. But if Diane were here, she would tell you that we are piloting it with these kids with the eye towards what changes would we have to make to be able to run something like this for middle schools.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Do you know the percentage of women at Cornell Tech currently?
The percentage of women at Cornell Tech.
You know, students.
It's very, it depends on the programs. I think in the MBA program, it's at least 50-50.
It's close to 50, 49.
Okay, and I think even in some of the tech programs, specifically connected media, it's also close to 50-50. Tends to be the ones that are more, the engineering and computer science pure disciplines. And I think their numbers are fairly typical of, well, interestingly, graduate school tends to be a little bit higher than undergraduate school. But things like the connected media is a great example, because what's basically been found is that if you can talk about computer science as a tool for working on and solving the problems that you're actually interested in, far more women will get engaged, seeing it as a tool for, well, I'm interested in media, or I'm interested in art history, or I'm interested in clean water. Doesn't matter what the field is, we all know that technology is infused in every field. So when you have a field like connected media, which is really a tech field and requires tech understanding, but is an applied approach to it, then more women tend to move in that direction.
So can that formula be applied on the undergraduate level?
Yeah, that's exactly the whole design of the new intro course is that it's contextually based. It's not computer science, like you have to learn about architecture and you have to learn about networking and you have to know all those basics. It's quite the opposite. We teach these kids to program from day one, and they do it all in the context of whatever their interest is. So if you're interested in biology, your projects are learning, to write code related to that, and so on. And then they go back. Once to get you hooked, then you can go back and learn some of the sort of less sexy things you have to learn in order to have a full breadth. But that is the approach. It's been done at other universities. They tend to be the smaller, more elite universities like Harvey Mudd College and CMU and so forth. But what we wanted to do was take that learning, just like we're taking the learning from Cornell Tech, and bring it to a place like CUNY in order to give that student body the kinds of advantages that others have.
Thank you so much.